The woman that I am got me to here, 100%. She's a bad bitch. Like, I love her and she has got me to here. She gave me the ideas, I had the visions, I did it.
Today's guest is an international speaker and a 7-figure businesswoman who focuses heavily on empowering women to unleash, to love themselves fully and to create wildly empowered lives. Miss Anna Rose.
I was 22. I had lived a life of just destruction and pain and hurt.
How did the idea come about of you wanting to create this new company?
It's not just about a brand and an aesthetic and a look. I always say this brand is a movement to inspire millions of women around the globe to move like they love themselves.
To wrap this up, I got a final question for you. Are you ready?
Always.
If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self and give her 30 seconds of advice, what would it be?
I would say,
Alrighty guys, today's guest is an international speaker and a 7-figure businesswoman who focuses heavily on empowering women to unleash, to love themselves fully and to create wildly empowered lives. From a young age, asking questions that went against society's norms, she realized that she had an urge to go against the grain and do extraordinary things. Starting her first business at 18, which was an online dating app, before they were cool, to then going on to dominate in 4 different industries, including earning over 7 figures in the network marketing industry, launching her own self-love school, being the founder of an NFT, and now launching her own activewear brand. She's a self-professed self-love queen and a life enthusiast who is on a huge mission to liberate women and change the world. So please help me welcome the woman who went from being a paper route girl to now the founder of The Awakened Woman and a multi-passionate entrepreneur and my fellow skydiving buddy, Miss Anna Rose.
woo! And the crowd goes wild. Thank you, Morgs. That was a joy. What an intro.
I try my best.
You did really well. Like, probably a 9 out of 10.
Oh.
Not the. We're gonna save the one for the end of the podcast, and
All right.
I'll reassess.
I love it. So there's so many things that we can talk about. Obviously, we were just talking lots of mad shit. In fact, we're getting our skydive license together. We had 4 hours in the car the other day and talked about everything between business, success, life, and your new sex life, which was 80% probably that.
That is very true.
Yeah. And
Can we say sex and dating?
sex and dating? What's the difference?
I mean, a lot.
Apart from the lot. But talk to us.
Are we going to go here straight away?
I wasn't going to go there actually at all. I wanted to talk really about business and entrepreneurship. But I do think that some listeners would really get a good perspective of seeing the world from how you're seeing it. We were literally just saying before we're recording how you're like, no, you shouldn't have to commit straight away and all this sort of stuff. So what's your new belief around dating life, and where do you think the majority of people are getting it wrong?
Firstly, can I just say, as a multifaceted woman who absolutely lives a very big, very loud, very fun life in terms of business and in my personal life being, solo skydiver and all of the things, we as women, I always say you need to divorce the good girl and just become a liberated woman. And you don't need to ever fit into a box. So I love talking about this stuff because I know that some people look at me and go, you can't say that. You can't be like that. You can't wear those, whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, the fuck I can, actually. I do not hide any of my sides. I can be the intellectual, the sexual, the emotional, the financial, liberated woman. So to answer your question while we go there straight off the bat is I believe, having lived through the embodied experience, like I was married and in a relationship for 16 years, got out of that, got into a super toxic relationship for 18 months. And now I'm in the fun season and era of heavy, heavy, heavy work that I did on myself to figure out why the fuck I attracted a toxic relationship for 18 months. And then that led me down the garden path of that liberation, of identifying my wounds, healing my wounds, and then realizing and recognizing that you get to just not audition men, but kinda. No, but because I just said to Morgs off camera, there was can I say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy that was going to go skydiving with us and I thought he was really cute and hot. And I was like, is he single? And Morgs goes, you thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, oh, he's not. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, yeah, he just started dating a girl a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, cool, so he's still single. And he was like, no. And I was like, but he's dating. Dating doesn't necessarily have to equate a relationship. And I actually was speaking to a good guy friend about this last night. And he was saying to me, he's like, you're a unicorn. Like, I wish more women could just have this belief, essentially. Because I said, yeah, I don't need a man. Like, I'm not this needy, attached, anxiously attached, avoidant attached, disorganized attached, which is all the attachment styles, or secure attached, right? Woman who starts to date a man and then needs that commitment and demands that exclusivity. I'm like, let's figure it out. Let's have some fun. Let's be two whole, healed humans and come at this with calm and ease and slowness and gentleness and figure it out.
I like that because you're sort of looking at it as an objective view versus like this means this and this is that and that
I need this from you and no.
Yeah, and you said the word secure, which is because I'm looking past my other past relationships as well and working through that, and now being in a new relationship where we're both secure. It's like we can say and do anything we want, and it feels very amazing to be like we don't have to worry about each other's insecurities because we've both worked on it.
Yeah.
So I know you're really, really big on like the self-love stuff as well, which probably the reason why people, if they're listening to this, be like, I could never do that. It's probably something inside them that's being triggered, right?
Yeah.
What are some steps that people can actually do to become more secure in themselves and therefore show up in a more secure way for their partner?
Well, I always say the number one thing, like I am the self-love queen. That is, I've started a school on it for sure. Like I am the self-love queen. And I always say to women, and that's who I work with women, I'm like pussy power, is know yourself, trust yourself, love yourself and back yourself. Why are you giggling when you hear the word pussy?
I just love talking to you. Fucking funny.
But it is. And I said this on a podcast yesterday. I said, sometimes I don't use the word triggered. I'm like, triggered is a PTSD response. If you get triggered, you're offended. I can definitely you either love me or hate me, but I don't care because I love myself and I like myself, right? And so a woman who stands in her power of knowing herself, trusting herself, loving herself and backing herself is a woman steeped in her self-love. Now, I think to get to that point as the deepest part of yourself, you have to, like I said, know yourself, love yourself, trust yourself and back yourself. But that comes from understanding wounds, healing wounds, facing your shadows, facing off with your past, but learning the darkest parts of yourself, liberating yourself from them and loving yourself through the entire process. And I think when there's wounds involved in a relationship, to answer that question, when we are offended, not triggered, if you sub in the word that feels best for you, but when we're offended in relationship or we're projecting onto our partner, it's because we have wounds. It's like, you can't be that way because that upsets me, or no, you don't get that freedom because because deep down as a little girl, maybe you were abandoned. And that partner wanting to express himself in that way or go have fun with the boys, like that triggers or brings up in you that feeling of abandonment. So until you go away and become that whole healed woman, you can never bring your best self to the relationship.
It's so true. At what point do you think it becomes toxic if it does? How you're just saying it's like, but I don't need man, I don't need this. Surely it's got to hit a point where it could become toxic. Where wasn't that you said, I don't care what you think about me because I love myself at the end of the night. At what point could it become toxic, or would people dance on a line of it being disempowering for them, I guess, if they're not aware that they are showing up as an asshole?
I was going to say, well, that's narcissism, right? So there's that. And I mean, I think even that word gets thrown around so much and too much these days, but that's narcissism, right? There's narcissism with being like, I don't care if you're a shunt, like if you're an asshole, then that's different. But when I sit here and if you get to know me, I could have already pissed some listeners off, right? Beautiful. And that's okay. Yeah. Because my intention always comes from the purest, most loving, most, empowering space on earth. And you know that, people that know me know that. But ultimately that toxic line, well then that's narcissism. And so you need a psychologist. That's a whole that's a whole arena to play in. But I think that the number one thing that holds everyone back from their most liberated, most beautiful, abundant life is fear of what other people think of them. And so when they can step into that, you know what, I am going to speak up and I am going to show up and I am going to press post and I am going to go live and I am going to start that business and I am going to try my hardest. that's the difference of saying like, I don't need you to like me, or I don't need you to like what I say, or I don't need you to like what I'm doing, because I trust myself, know myself, and back myself. And if more people could step into that truth and that power, then the world would be a different place, and people would have more success and have bigger bank accounts and make more change and make more of an impact.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like if people actually approach their businesses and their life with that attitude, they would be a lot more successful. And I want to ask, have you always been like that? Have you always been someone who you're like, I'm going to take whatever I want and create this, like birth this shit? Or did you overcome anything of like not feeling like you had your place or anything like that?
I was raised, do you know what? If I say no, it's such a good question. I'm like, I think a lot of my best friends of like 20 plus years have said, like, I remember when we were young and like I was 14, 15, 16, you know, we were naughtily, I don't recommend it, but naughtily underage drinking.
No.
And like, I remember I think we were like 15 and all of us girls had a trolley full of booze and we were like going to the neighborhood party. And I remember the cops pulled up and this is a very extreme example, but I remember, you know, the cops pulled up and all the girls ran and I just like stayed on the trolley and I was like, sup? Like, I just knew my rights and they were like, what are you doing? You're underage. I was like, nothing's open, sir. Like, I'm just going innocently to a party. Right? I've always had that level of certainty and fuck you attitude in a sense. Yes. That's how I took on a nation for 2 years, or took on the government essentially for 2 years. But I think that has come from a deep desire to want to play bigger in the world. But do I doubt myself all of the time? Am I terrified? Mostly always. Does it hurt? Yes. Is it scary? Absolutely. The difference is I hold on, I keep going, one foot in front of the other.
So let's talk about it. So you took on the government for 2 years. Tell everybody give everybody in a bit of a nutshell. What happened?
Do we want to go
Let's fully dive in.
Let's go there.
One thing I've done on this podcast, I don't think I've really openly shared my view on the pandemic or COVID at all. I think I was telling you about the other day. It's like some people like you're like, this is what I fucking believe, and you went hard. And then some people were so the other way. And I think I saw it all, and I looked, I was like, it's not my game. And I think I just decided to like stay quiet. I just didn't voice my opinion. I sort of just left it. So, but this show and the people who watch this are very like pretty seasoned to, if you get offended by this, it's their problem. Right? So,
okay, perfect.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, if you invite me on, that's the game.
Yeah, I
want
to hear. So, like, what? So you went to the war with the government for 2 years. What happened?
What happened? What happened was COVID. I call it COVID again. It just was the whole thing. I mean, COVID was real, sure, but the science is out now, and I also want to say that for 2 years, every single day, I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But what if I'm not? Like, what if these questions that I'm asking on my Instagram just to share what's what, you know, just to share maybe this isn't right. Maybe there's other things that haven't been answered yet. So maybe things shouldn't be mandated. So I've always been a woman that's pro-choice in every single way across the board consistently. Like, no judgment. You do what you want to do, be who you want to be, but don't ever let it impact someone else's life. That's like, I'm just pro-choice across the board. So 2 years ago when COVID started, it took me 3 days. And my ex-husband's always like, that is the hill I'll die on with you. Like I started questioning the whole scandemic 3 days into it being launched globally. I was like, something's just not adding up. Like people dropping dead in the street in China. I was like, the world's about to die if this is true. Yeah. Like I started to just go, I don't know. I just think something's off about this. World indoors shut. And I said, you know, I laughed at my ex-husband at the time and I said, you know, the next thing they're going to come out with is a vaccine in 2 minutes and they're going to try and, like, it was a joke to me. I said it as a joke. I was like, watch, you know, and then we're all going to go infertile. You know, I kind of said it jokingly. And literally 2 weeks later, it started to come out in the news. Well, you know, these big pharmaceutical companies are creating this vaccine and it's going to be safe and effective immediately with no trials done. And I was like, oh, Mayday, SOS. I've got some questions and I think I can have them. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. And I just, every single day, that's how I approached it. I just had questions I wanted answered. And I would share my own questions basically and say, I'm not sure that this is true. I'm not sure that this is correct. You know, maybe I would love these questions answered, media, government. And I'd film some videos in the end because then I just started to go viral.
People sharing them and went crazy.
Yeah, it just started to go viral. And like anything I put up, it was like every single day my stories for pretty much 2 years were getting over 20,000 views. I would like every video I did would go completely viral, hundreds of thousands of views. And it's funny, I walked into this studio Morgs and someone was like, I recognize you from somewhere. I get that everywhere I go. And I'm like, yeah, maybe there was a video you saw. But yeah, so for 2 years and it took a lot from me.
And
it took a lot
and you
of
lost
me.
your accounts and stuff too, didn't you?
They deplatformed me. I didn't have one community violation on my account because I didn't do anything wrong.
So you're just asking questions.
I did.
Because I didn't think I watched your videos,
wrong.
but yeah, so you weren't sort of like badgering shit. You were just asking questions and getting people.
And I was sharing referenced articles and I was sharing government documents. So they were fact checking. And this is what cut through. Like I was sharing their own reference government articles and reference science and going, yeah, but here's the whole. But I don't understand this. Okay, so if you're saying this happens, but here's your piece of legislation I've just read that actually you're breaking your own law, then there's like fact check. I was like, bro. And so people started to go, hang on, I think this girl has got something to say. Like, I think she's right. And every single day, I kept saying, and it wasn't like, don't get the vaccine. It was like, look, I don't think they should be mandating it. And if you are questioning it yourself, here are the questions that I have that I would love answered. And the science that has come out now is deplorable and shocking, like from the pharmaceutical companies themselves that they try and hide. So
what I'm really curious to know, right, because one similar trait I've seen with you, like I've known you for how long? 7 years,
8.
Something like this. Long time we've known each other.
Grew up together,
yeah,
Joel.
we've grown up together. We've traveled together. We've done a lot together.
Yeah.
And but one thing I've seen time and time again with you is you're not afraid to stand up and cop the arrows from everybody for what you believe is right. And what I really want to sort of understand is this, that if we look at some of the most empowering, influential sort of people in the world, like the people that have had to stand up, like look at Martin Luther King. Could you imagine how hard that would have been to stand up and be like, this is it? Knowing that, and he got killed, right?
Yeah.
But like to be able to stand up and have that. And I think a lot of people sort of need that. Maybe not everyone has to do it to that degree, but at least for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And psychologically, it's actually very hard for people to do this because what they've proven time and time again, that it's more important for us to actually fit in with the people around us than it is for us to choose what we know is right.
Yeah.
So if we're faced with answers in front of us and we know the answer is A and we know it full highly, it's actually A, but everyone around us is picking B, eventually we'll pick B as well because it's more important for us to fit in and pick B as well. So how do you think, talk to me about this, how do you actually continue to go, no, it's fucking A and be okay? Because I imagine that there's fear in that. There's, well, what if it's not A? What if, and start doubting yourself? Like, how do you do that and continually show up like that?
Do you know, it's so funny you say this because I actually just had a Facebook memory and I am going to share it today on my Instagram stories. And it was from 8 or 9 years ago. And I shared how then I had been vehemently bullied online and I'd found this, or someone had found this like forum about me then. And because I was doing network marketing and absolutely crushing it. And it was like, she can't do that. How dare she, have success, and how dare she go against the status quo, and how dare she, but it was disgusting. Like this group of men had, they were car enthusiasts. It was so fucking ridiculous. But I remember having to go to the cops because they were stalking me at this point. Like the hate and the bullying was so bad. They were like trying to lure me to cafe, like all this stuff. And I didn't give a fuck. I just got louder and I just got prouder. But it's funny that you're asking me this question today because I shared a status on that and I was talking about how, and then cut to a couple of years later, the scandemic began and I took on, like I said, the government for 2 years and I got death threats, for goodness sake. Like I was getting death threats. And
by random people or?
Yeah, just like go and and kill yourself, you evil bitch. Like, how dare you question?
People are so nice.
They're crazy. I love, I genuinely do love humanity. So I think, first of all, there's a lot of compassion in my heart. So that's step one. But it is such a good question. And honestly, this is probably, if I could walk away from today and give them one thing other than self-love or sexual liberation or whatever else. It's this liberation of fear of stopping yourself because of what other people think of you. And for me, how I don't stop and how I take the arrows and how I keep going is it is the ethos of knowing yourself, trusting yourself, loving yourself and backing yourself. But I say to people all the time, the only way through it is through it. But the terror that people feel to say, no, it is fucking A. It's A.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know it's A. But when the terror that people feel to just stand in that truth and go, it's A and I know it's A, is overwhelming, and they stop because they haven't done it before, right? They don't have the runs on the board. They don't have that like armor of like, I know this is going to hurt when people start to like call me names or put me down or whatever else, which happens. That's humanity. Mm-hmm. And the only way through that, the only way to get through it, and I wish I could give better advice, because it's like, just like count to 10 and turn around 4 times and touch your nose and it will go away. Like, it doesn't, but the only way through it is through it.
Yeah.
And that's how you cut your teeth in life, right? So I think number one, you have to know yourself. I know it's fucking A because I know it's A, because I know myself. I trust myself. I back myself and I love myself. And so when I'm choosing to question something, or I'm choosing to speak, even the way that I speak sometimes can be really affront people, because they're like, you just say what you mean and you mean what you say. And I'm like, all of the time, yes. Because I know myself, love myself, trust myself and back myself. And so if people can just step into that power and know that it's going to hurt and that it's going to be painful and that some arrows may come and you may lose some friends and that it may suck, but you get to do it anyway and survive. And then on the other side of that, thrive. And you do that again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's a change life.
So a big key of it is radical self-trust, right? Which brings me back to, I think a lot of people lack that. And that was one of my biggest learnings skydiving, actually. I think I told you, right? I was like, fuck, I realized like my biggest fear was jumping out of this plane and not trusting myself to pull the chute or like remember the things I learned. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, of course I can do this. And then after I did it, now I'm literally like, I feel like, I don't know if you feel the same, like I feel like bulletproof. I'm like, I just got like another tool in my tool belt where if I'm ever on a plane and I feel like it's going to go down, I could fucking go parachute and save myself.
Okay, first of all, I know parachutes and I have checked into this.
There's not, is there?
God damn
I wonder if the pilots would, no.
I looked into this.
You're too high. It's like 35,000 feet or something, aren't they?
Yeah, apparently if we jumped out with a parachute, because I'm like, I'm never going on a commercial flight again without one. And they're like, if you jumped out at that height and that speed, you would be mincemeat. Anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense. But you'd have no oxygen as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like to think like if we're like a Mission Impossible movie type thing, like I've imagined that. Okay, that's where I go to in my head. But at least I think I was like, wow, that's like another notch in my belt where I feel I can back myself on another thing. So, how do you teach people to develop more self trust? Because I gather if they've got more and more self trust, they'll literally be like, I don't care what you think, it's A every single time. So how do they develop more self trust?
What's the next thing? Right, this is what I always say to all the women in self-love school. What's the next thing that you can choose? So first of all, I always say I talk about becoming. Who do you want to become? Because we're all different. You may not want to be this loud, proud, big, bold, whatever. You may, essential, sexual, like whatever that is for you. But it's first of all, who do you actually want to become? So for me, she, but he. So what do you look like? Right, and I'm speaking to you now, the listener. Like, what do you look like? What do you sound like? What do you wear? Who is she or he? How do you want to show up? How do you want to fuck? What do you want to earn? Who do you want to become? Like, what adventures do you want to go on? How do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? How do you want to feel when you walk into a room? How do you want to feel in your home? Figure that out. Most people are so blind and so oblivious to even their becoming that they miss the whole point. And so it's like, okay, first of all, what does she look like? Or what does he look like, right? Focus on that, write that down, and then every day before you are her or before him, step into that, right? Mm-hmm. But as you're doing that in your becoming, as you're becoming that person that you want, like most women, I speak for women, right? I am pussy power. So most women, they know who they want to be. They know they want to be more confident. They know they want to be more sexual. They know they want to speak up more, but they're too terrified to do it. Or they don't even know who or what she sounds or looks like. So first of all, I say, figure that out. And second of all, I say start becoming her in every day. What would she do, right? Because the you that you are right now, you may not take that dance class. You may not put the heels on and go to a sexy dance. Or you may not have the courage to tell your husband, actually, I want you to choke me and spank me, right? Because most women do want that.
Facts.
Facts. So whatever that is, right? How maybe you want to dress more feminine. Maybe it's you want to dress more boss, whatever it is, right? It's the fear. So figure that out first and then choose from that space. Okay. But then the next thing is like, okay, but then how do they self-trust themselves? That's what's the next thing. So you have to know who you want to be first. Figure that out. You're doing it. And then in that moment when you go to play small again, right? So you're like, okay, no, I'm not going to say yes to that opportunity, or, oh my God, there was just that opportunity where I could be really honest and vulnerable with my husband and I didn't take it. Or actually, fuck, I just caught up with my girlfriends again and they were bitching and I said I didn't want to, and it happened again. Those are the moments of self-trust, right? Those are the moments where that's the next thing. That's the sliding door moment. So in your life, when you know where you are, which everyone knows where they are, but you know who you want to become, which is that picture that you're going to paint for your life, to bridge that gap and to build that self-trust, it's like the next thing. So when you're in that circumstance or situation where you don't know, it's like, okay, this is the moment where I've got to speak up, or I have to say something, or I have to say no, or I have to turn away, hold my boundary, or I have to be vulnerable. And it's a choice. You either in that, it's like, well, do I really want to become her? Do I really want to? Of course you do. So you have to make that decision. And that's how you build your self-trust. What's the next thing? And then the next thing. And then the next thing. And then that's ultimately your becoming, which is super exciting.
And this is like, this makes a lot of sense because I would bet, and tell me if you think otherwise, do you think this is the one thing that probably stops people from going out there and building the business they want, the life they want?
100%. The 100% of the time. And most of the time, people are so oblivious and blind to their own becoming in that sense. Like they're letting life happen to them. They're not an active participant and author of their life because they don't even know who they actually want to become. I skydived. That was my next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guys, this is the point. That was my next thing. And it's a little more wild for me, granted, and us.
What's next after skydiving though, hey?
I'm going to fucking learn to fly.
Oh,
I'm probably never going to base jump, but I want to learn to fly a helicopter. Like now I'm like, okay, I want to fly the helicopter.
I want to do a helicopter.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you base jump?
It just doesn't excite me. Like I'm like, I love the thrill and the feeling of jumping out at 15,000 feet.
Yeah.
Like, and I love the free fall, like the feeling in our tummy. I love like the wild, you guys, of watching. I mean, you're not meant to look, but I look. You're meant to look up at the horizon, but I definitely look down. Watching Earth hurtle towards you at 15th. You drop 1,000 feet
every 6 seconds.
It's fucking wild. It is so wild. And so why would I take that away from myself?
Because base jumping is just running and jumping off a cliff and popping straight away, right?
Yeah.
Throwing your shit out straight away.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's 1,000 to 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
And you think about we hop and pop at 5,000 feet.
Yeah.
So you can't even canopy.
For me, that's the most exciting part as well. Like exiting the just like the
It's total surrender. It is total surrender.
I want to do the wingsuiting.
I'll definitely do
that.
Wingsuit. Yeah, 100%.
That just looks insane. And now I'm nearly up to also being able to jump out with other people. So you're there as well. So
I'm there.
2 more times, then we can start jumping out together.
I know.
I think that's when it'll get sick. We can jump out like 10 people in the air.
Yeah,
like
crazy.
Far out. All right. So
but to speak to that,
Yeah.
you guys, like to use that as a really powerful thing for my becoming, right? So I'm about to launch my 4th and biggest global company, and the way that I saw it, and this is like I want to use I can use the embodiment of self as the example of everything I just spoke of. It doesn't come from books, it comes from embodiment. Is I wanted to the company I'm launching is big. Right, it's a big brand.
This is the
Tor Collective,
which is the activewear brand, right?
And it's linked to the NFT. It's pioneering. I'm pioneering across 2 industries. Okay, so it was big, and I felt like the woman that I am got me to here, 100%. She's a bad bitch. Like, I love her, and she has got me to here. She gave me the ideas. I had the visions. I did it, okay? But then I was like, my God, the woman that has to lead a global company, it will be. I am calling it in, a global multi-million-dollar a year company. Like, I am not her yet, right? I was like, the brand's bigger than me. And that's beautiful and that's necessary. I think the brand should always be, and, you know, the vision leads you and blah, tick, tick, tick and blah, blah, blah. But I was like, yeah, but also I need to grow into my becoming. Like, I've got us here, but I don't know that I can get it there. And so I was like, I need to play bigger. I need to surrender more. I need to be so certain in who I am.
How do you plan on doing this? How do you?
No, so I did, right? So I was sitting with it. No, so I was sitting with it and I was like, I need to back myself. Because what if I talk about it? It's not cute slogans for me. It's true and real in my life. Like, I was like, I love myself, trust myself, back myself and know myself. But I need to become that on steroids for this next evolution of business for me. And so I sat with it and I was like, what is going to make me back myself? What is going to make me trust myself? What is going to make me, you know myself better than anything that I ever have before? And I was like, jumping out of a motherfucking plane. And literally that was why I chose skydiving. That was the next thing for me. And so what is the next thing for you? So I looked at who I needed to become. Literally, I was like, this woman needs to be boom, know herself, love herself, trust herself, back herself on a whole new level. So I looked at that becoming, and then I looked where I was, and then I was like, okay, well, what's the next thing? Motherfucking skydiving. And I went and got my and I was a bad bitch. Like, they said, I went to Maria, shout out to Skydive Oz, totally not sponsored. I paid my whole way. But they even said, they were like, if there was a Hall of Fame, you would be on it. Like, I just was on. Well, I guess
it gets simpler along the way of doing things new because you completely back yourself and trust yourself more and more and more. Yeah. What's up, Dream Nation? Have you ever wondered how far ahead your life would have already been if you had got access to this type of content at a younger age? Look, this is why I need your help. I'm trying to build the #1 personal development platform out there to teach you guys the tips, tricks, and attitude of what it takes to live your dream life and to bring the type of education that we all wish we had in school. This show only grows by word of mouth and new subscribers, so it would mean the world to me if you could smash that subscribe button right now, leave us a 5-star written review or drop a comment below and share this episode with a friend. I would be forever grateful. All right, now let's get back into this episode. I was talking about this, like, this week I'm building out a whole brand new program and I'm like teaching like entrepreneurship 101. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's making a lot of sense. It's like, and I was talking about like how far you can sort of go in business in the beginning. And it's like, if you can compare yourself to somebody like me, who I've been doing for so long, but I've like, if me and you started the exact same business and I was talking like, let's say someone who's Bob, who's a tradie, and then there's me and we both start the exact same business, I'd bet on me. I'd bet on me.
I'd bet on you,
I'm not saying that I will be better, but I'd bet on me just because of I've done this shit longer. Yeah. I'm more experienced, not just the skill set, but like who I am. Yeah. And like my ability to just overcome adversity and the resilience and to keep going and to the discipline and all these sorts of things. And it just gets simpler and simpler and simpler, which makes complete sense as to why you're freaking killing it and you're about to launch your 4th thing.
But to use you again then as the example, if you're listening, is that you've gone through it. You've gone through it again and again and again, and you keep choosing the next thing and you keep working on your becoming. It's just, it doesn't change. So wherever people are right now in their life, whether you are listening and you're, so if life, which it is on a spectrum, 1 to 10, and 10 is fucking crushing it, living your best life, not a thing wrong, and 1 is rock bottom, wherever you are on the spectrum, it doesn't change. Mm-hmm. Work out what you want, work out who you want to become, figure out where you are right now, and what is the next thing.
You're an extremely bubbly, energetic, filled with life person. Do you ever get days where you're completely down?
I definitely do not have days where I am completely down. No, I really don't. I have moments. Mm-hmm. I will offer this. I sincerely have moments, and what I would offer more that would serve is, because I've worked so hard on myself and the work is never done, but fuck me sideways. I could never spend a day. Like I've gone anything and everything most people have gone through. I'm like, I get it, because me too. And I think that is what makes me so relatable to most, is that I grew up with every violence inflicted upon me that could possibly be done. I have gone through a divorce. I have had, domestic violence. I have had sexual abuse. I have had everything happen to me. So it's not to say that I am this immune Energizer bunny who doesn't have feelings, but that's the point, and that's what I want to offer. The gift for me is that I worked out how to feel everything and actually not suppress my emotions. And actually, so do I feel grief? Yes. I lost my dad to cancer 7 years ago now. Like, that took me out for weeks, right? So that wasn't just like a down day. That was a down weeks. But I let myself sit in that grief and feel it, really fucking feel it and process it. More recently, when I went through the breakup of a toxic ex, that was hard. There was sort of a series of events that happened that, made me get out. And that was really scary and really bad. And I sat in that and I felt that and I moved through that. And I think the power of a fully expressed, fully feminine woman is that she does feel it all. And so, do I feel rage? Fuck yeah. It's one of my most favorite feelings to have. Do I feel anger? Yes. Do I feel, sadness or frustration? All of the time. But I know how to move myself up the emotional guidance scale and get back to joy and ease and grace and fun. And
how do you do that?
Yeah, 100%. I teach this in self-love school. So feelings are a vibration. Yep. They are. They're real. They are very fucking real. They are expressed emotions in our body. 100%. We feel grief and we feel rage. And that's why you should never and can never tell a depressed person to go for a walk. I mean, I do. I'm like, move like you love yourself every day. But because from a vibrational perspective, depression and anger and rage and grief is, at level, I think it's like 26, and then joy and peace is 1. Mm-hmm. So to go from 26 to a 1, it's actually biologically impossible. Mm-hmm. But you can go from rage to frustration. So I feel it. So I'm like, I am sitting in this rage, and I've got a wiffle bat. I talk about this all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know what's so funny?
Smash it?
Yes. I have a wiffle bat. I do a lot of ocean swimming as well. And I do.
You just go to the store and go buy heaps like cheap cups and shit.
I feel like I need an Amazon bench
when you're ready to fuck shit up.
Well, no, a wiffle bat is actually like this. It's like 1 kilo light bat. Like if you put it on your finger, it's like. And okay. I'll smash pillows and I smash couches and.
Yep.
I've done rage rooms though, but I will. So I'll feel it. I'm feeling really fucking angry. Yeah. I'm pissed off, and I don't try and bypass it. Here's what I say to women: never, ever eat, drink, or fuck your way through a feeling. Ever. Same goes for men. I just work with women. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, people, humanity, never eat, drink, or fuck your way through a feeling. Feel it.
Yeah.
And so how you do it, how you move up is like, I'll feel rage. Say I raged at the government for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So I'd feel rage. I'd be like, I'm really fucking angry today. Like, this is frustrating. I might go bash a pillow. So I'll feel it. Rage is so sacred. Rage is one of the most potent, powerful emotions on the planet. What we as women can do with rage is life-changing. So I'll feel it, right? I'll sit in it and you just feel it in your body. I might bash a pillow. I might go to the ocean and scream under the water, but I'll feel it and I let it be expressed and felt in my body. Then I might go, okay, that I feel better. I'm just frustrated now. Like, it's just, I rage because I'm frustrated. Right? That's a better emotion. That's a higher quality emotion. No emotion is good or bad. Rage is as good and beautiful as joy. Joy is as good as beautiful as grief. It is all beautiful. But yeah, and then I'll go, yeah, I'm fucking frustrated. Right? And then I'll feel that for a little while. And it's like, oh, think about it. Feel it. If you've felt emotions before, you know how that feels in your body. Most people, though, are scared to feel that. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many women are scared to feel rage? It's like, I'm scared about what I might do. Go do it, sis. Fuck it up. Feel it. If that is because you're going to speak your truth, yes. If it's because you might leave a marriage, I'm here for it. If it's because you might get angry and mad, great. That's what we're here to do. We're human beings. We're not human doings, right? We're here to feel. So then you might feel frustrated. So that's a higher vibration emotion. And then for frustration, you might go, I'm really frustrated, but I know I'm going to get through this, which is hope. Right? And that's a higher emotion again. And so you're just working your way up that emotional. But if you go, I'm fucking raging and I'm mad and I'm pissed off and I'm not going to communicate why, or because often it's like at a loved one or in the household, and I'm going to put on Netflix and drink a bottle of wine instead. Good luck.
Push down like a beach ball.
Good luck.
Yeah. I see this happen a lot, right? So when people come to my events, I edge people in slowly to allowing this shit to come up. And I can see them. When I see people, I can literally see in their skin suppressed negative emotions, guilt, shame, frustration, anger. And I've just gotten really freaking good at it, right? And then I know how to ask right questions and allow them to sort of like lift that layer of the onion where it's like, poof, and then it comes up. But the problem with this, I do love the bat. I love the bat because it's like if you don't express it, you suppress it.
Yeah. And
so if we're not actually expressing it, it's literally like pushing a beach ball underwater, pretending it's not there. It's like push.
Oh, I love that.
No one's ever going to see it. And then what happens is you push it down, push it down. And then one day your husband or whatever comes home, it's like, hey, baby. And then just because you didn't notice your fucking hair, you're like, fuck you. And he's like, the fuck?
It's true.
Right? And all these things come out then. And it's like, so I think it's very good to actually recognize, and I love that you said that it's not about having bad days, because I'm honestly the same. It's like, I can't remember the last time I had a bad day, because I've just gotten very good at it. I used to have bad weeks. I had bad life.
I had a fucking bad life. This is the thing, is like, don't ever think that I know such joy because I know such grief. I know such happiness because I know such pain. Yeah. Like I've been all ends of the spectrum and I honor all ends of the spectrum. They're not good or bad. It's just life.
Useful or it's unuseful. That's how I look at it. It's like, this is either useful for me right now. There's been times in my life where I've been absolutely pissed off and it's been very useful behavior. It's very been useful emotion. The behavior sometimes was good, sometimes it's not bad. Right? But it's like, so you go.
No, I was going to say, for women, this is such a powerful conversation. Yeah. And men, sorry. You have so many guy listeners.
Don't make up a story about it, guys, all right?
Yeah.
It's all good.
But men, listen, lean in, guys, and then maybe, share this with a partner. But no, men have feelings too, so feel them as well. It's just I'm so used to working with women. But a lot
of men suppress sadness.
Yes.
And that's the issue, because they've grown up with the whole stigma where it's not safe, or it's not cool, it's not strong to cry, which is so funny actually, because the mature masculine
let's go here
is actually very supportive of a brother feeling. But I've seen this, and it's very interesting. Like when I've grown up, when I've been a immature masculine, you see someone.
I knew Morgan and his immature masculine.
Right, wild. You see another guy crying or expressing it, and it might be like, "Come on, you pussy." But then I've seen bloke like gangsters. And they cried, and it's like, come here, brother. It's okay. And it's like, because I think another man can actually just understand, they're like, that's so fine. But a lot of dudes, unfortunately, suppress this because they think it's not cool, it's not strong, it's not safe to do that. And as a result, that's why the men's suicide is the highest. It's higher than women. Men's crime rates are higher. I think all the more people that are in prison are men, more homicides are men, domestic, all these sorts of things. And I really think it's because of the suppressed anger and sadness that it don't allow to actually come out.
And then it's broken homes, right? Let's stay here, because you know how much of a fan I am of like the discussion around the masculine and the feminine. And I want to also say, like, I think being so, like, if you want to know how I crush it in fitness and skydiving and business and it's because of these things that we're talking about now. This is underneath all of the success. So I think it's so important to talk about. But I'm such a fan of the masculine and the feminine and playing and the dance between both. And I think to stay on that about men, I think that men, like us women, like women are wild. Like the feminine, the surrendered feminine is also wild, right? And it takes a strong, healed, masculine man to hold the wild of a feminine, of a healed feminine. And it's beautiful and it's poetic, but I think in most homes that's what's being broken down. And I think that it's because women push up against their men because they are a bit more in their feminine and they're suppressing their emotions and they can't feel. And then women are stepping more in their masculine. So it's fractured this polarity between the husband and the wife or the partners. If there's always a masculine, feminine.
Because if the man's not going to step up and actually take control, the woman's going to feel unsafe.
Exactly.
Which is the number one value of the feminine energy. I've got to feel safety. And if they're not going to feel it, they're going to be like, well, fuck it.
I'm going to do it. 100%.
Yeah, which creates, and it's a very, I explain this a lot at our event as well. It's like, it's people ask, but who started it? The men and women. It's not even a 50-50 game. It's 100%, 100%. Each person has 100% responsibility in the role they play, but it can very equally create a downward spiral of not stepping up and taking ownership, then also not allowing some control to step in. And it's a two-way thing massively.
Yeah. And that's the work, friends. I think if the biggest thing, what you said, I always say 100% responsibility. Like I take 100% responsibility for my life 100% of the time. Yeah. No one is coming to save me. No one is there to do the work for me. I don't blame, justify, or make excuses. And that is, if you take nothing else from this conversation, and that's really hard to do, especially in the beginning. Like when I hit rock bottom, I was 22 and I had lived a life of just destruction and pain and hurt.
Why was that rock bottom? What happened?
I just was like, it was the moment that I had the worst panic attack of my life. I ended up in hospital. I was, I'd been a cutter. I was promiscuous. I was doing drugs, alcohol. I just fucking hated myself. I hated myself. And I was, every thought was toxic. Every decision was toxic. Every result in my life was toxic. I was pretty much a high functioning, spiteful, angry, pissed off woman, but I hated myself. And that culminated in this horrific panic attack. And I didn't know what anxiety was. This is like 13 years ago now. And I was pretty much given two options. You can go on these two types of medication, daily Xanax and I can't remember the other one, but it was like another anxiety pill, or go through those doors and, we just need to monitor you for a couple of weeks and make sure you're okay if you don't take option A. And I was like, option A, thanks, because, I'm not ready to go through those doors. And I got home and I was like rocking on the bed and hysterical. And I was like, what the fuck is my life? Like, I've done this? Like, no one else is to blame. Now, I had hated myself and cut myself and given my body away. And I was so out of my body. This is why I'm so passionate about embodiment, being in your body, like owning all of your sides, healing your wounds. Because at that point I was so out of my body. I was so disconnected from self. I had such a fractured soul. And I remember like being on the bed because all of these horrific things had happened to me as a child. And I couldn't change any of that, but I could take responsibility as an adult. And that was that moment of like 100% responsibility. Well, fuck, I can't change what happened, but I can change what happens from here. And so that was like my rock bottom moment of I can either keep going down this path of self-destruction. And honestly, my mum said this to me the other day as well. She was like, sweetie, I'm still so proud that you didn't end up with needles in your arm as a prostitute. Like it was like that absolutely could have been your story and why not? Like, and I was like, thanks, mum. Cheers, babe. But it was a sliding door moment. And it was, I can now get addicted to these drugs basically, or because I loved them because they made me a shell. I remember taking the first Xanax and I was like, this is what I've been chasing. Numbness. Like I was a zombie. I was gone. And I was like,
isn't it horrible that that's their remedy to that?
Right. I remember, can I say too, I remember being in with the doctors and saying, I know why I'm like this. Like I know why this has happened. Like I fucking hate myself and I've got problems. Can I get a referral for a psych? Can you help me with something? This is like 13 years ago. I know it's very much changed today, which is incredible. And they were like, we can, but we'll do that in 2 weeks. We need you to take this medication. Like we don't trust you without it. And so I had to go on the medication first. But anyway, so in that rock bottom, I was like rocking on the bed, hysterical. And I was like, I'm here because I fucking hate myself. Now the alternative to that, this is where my self-love journey began, is to love myself instead. But I don't know what that looks like, tastes like, feels like, sounds like. Like, if you talked about self-love 13 years ago, it was like, do you masturbate? Is it masturbation? Like, what? And so that night I was like, well, people that exercise look happy. Like people that exercise love themselves. I think this was the naivety of like the level of where I was at, which I'm so grateful for, because that's where moving like you love yourself came from, which is one of my famous quotes, which is what is the ethos of my global company today, moving like you love yourself.
I love this. And so quickly, tell us, how did How did the idea come about of you wanting to create this new company with the clothing label? And because obviously it's not just a label. It's not just, there's obviously so much behind it, so much meaning behind it. Where did the idea come from?
So the idea has come from the living embodiment of my life, in the sense that it's perfect, because like 13 years ago at rock bottom, that it's what changed my life. So I got up the next day and I started to, I said, I'm not moving because I hate myself. So what if I moved like I loved myself instead? And that's where Self-Love School is all about: moving like you love yourself, eating like you love yourself, thinking like you love yourself, fucking like you love yourself, right? And so that was my life 13 years ago, and I started to make those decisions and change my life. But it started with movement. That is how I fundamentally changed my life. Movement is medicine. Movement is motion in action. Like, it just run by run, walk by walk, swim by swim. In the end, I was just walking in the beginning, but walk by walk, it changed my life. I started to feel things that I'd suppressed, things that I didn't want to face, and I had to face them, right? And so movement is what changed my life. Movement healed my life. Movement saved my life. I was ready to tap out. I remember looking at all the pills I'd been given, and I was like, well, and I'd done it before. I didn't want to die, but I had wanted to sleep, and I did that successfully. So I remember looking at these pills, and it was like, if I just ate them all, like maybe this pain would go away. And instead, the next day I got up and I moved. I'll get emotional. Like, I moved like I love myself instead. And so I saved my life. And then for 13 years since, I have moved like I love myself every single day. And that's gone on from walking to now being a half Ironman athlete, I'm a triathlete, like I do triathlons, I ocean swim, I bike, I run, I skydive, I dance. Like, movement is my life. And so I always say, if I can inspire a woman to move, I can change her life. And so the brand Tor Collective, which is the clothing brand, and also
say it again. The
Tor, TAW,
which is
the Awakened Woman.
The Awakened Woman Collective. Yeah.
Collective. And that's the other thing, right? I am a woman that has moved for 13 years. And I have done every discipline, literally every discipline you can say I've done. And I still today skydive, dance, move, run, lift, train, yoga, like I do it all. And so, but I'm always like, oh, it'd be so much better if like that crop wasn't as tight, or these pants just had a little bit more elasticity. Or when you lift, you don't want your tits to pop out. Or when you do burpees in CrossFit, you need more of a halter. So I was like, I can do it better. Yeah. And I wanted to inspire a movement. This isn't a brand, it's a movement.
That's how Richard Branson first started Virgin Airlines.
Yeah.
You know that?
I know the story.
He's like, I can do this so much better. Well, actually, first he was like, I just need to fucking go see this woman. He got a plane, did it.
Did the sign at the airport.
Yeah. Then he started looking at it all, and he's just like, these airlines suck. I can do it so much better. And, like that's where all entrepreneurship is. It's really like leaning into the thing that excites you, intrigues you, and be like, this is cool, and I can do this better. And something that you're passionate about, right? Like, clearly I'm very passionate about movement. Yeah. So, but Tor Collective came from that. It's the deepest desire and passion of knowing that movement is what saved my life, not just changed my life. And so I wanted to inspire that in other women and of all shapes, of all sizes, of all ages, to inspire them to move like they love themselves. And so it's not just about a brand and an aesthetic and a look. I always say this brand is a movement. I'm creating a global movement to inspire millions of women around the globe to move like they love themselves. Yeah. And from that though, create this community. Like, what I love is I've got a different community, friends. Like, I have one of the greatest communities on earth, and they're all who are backing and ready for this brand as the beginners, essentially. But I've said to them, like, I know my crew. Like, if you see someone out in like Nike, you're not like, hey sis, like, you don't high five them. And I know for a fact, so don't buy it if you're not friendly. Like, I'm serious. I know my community, and if you see someone in Tor, it will be like, oh, sis. Like, it's just this real community vibe of like, and that's what sisterhood is all about. That is what a brand should be. Like, it's a movement. And so, but also I wanted to reward my community. They have been with me through thick and thin. They have, I've earned millions of dollars over the years in business because of them. I'm not self-made. Like, I'm made through my community. And so when I was looking at, I'm in this beautiful position now in my life that I have worked hard to get myself to, but I wanted to give back to my community. And so it was like creating a movement, of course, and putting beautiful
incredible quality clothes on their bodies to get them moving and feeling bold and beautiful, but also they're going to share in 50% of the profits. So if you own an NFT, I'm the NFT founder as well, and I launched the NFT for this brand. Like the NFT is the key for the community for the profits. Like it wasn't like I want to be an NFT founder. It was like I have brains in my head and a good intention, and I know that is a very efficient, brilliant, genius way to just pioneer. And so I founded the NFT, which is like been phenomenal. And if you hold an Awakened Woman NFT, so that's where Tor came from, then you will pull 50% of profits from the activewear brand forever, for as long as you hold that NFT. And it's not per holder, it's per NFT. So it's just like this, it's pioneering. No one's done it in the world. I'm here to fuck it up.
I love it. And
it's exciting.
This is what I'm super excited to, so you're one of the speakers at Dreamfest.
Yes.
Which is going to be so
Cannot
wait. Sick. So I'm super excited to really pick your brains a little bit more in front of everyone who's going to be there, all around the business specifically, and you know, bits and pieces on how to actually bring an idea to market and get this all out there. So I'm fired up for that. So apart from that, what can other people, if they haven't yet got their ticket, why should they get their ticket to hear from what you're going to talk about on the day?
I think it will. I mean, I was going to, by the way, I was going to Dreamfest as a participant. What is it? Like an audience member before you asked me, because after
our chat home on the skydiving the other day, I was like, we're talking all this stuff. I was like, this is fucking savage. I'm like, and often like, because my friends group is so good. I'm like, if people got to listen into the conversations, get to have my friends, it'd be worth a lot of money. So I was like, I'm always just trying to think as well. I'm like, how can I bring the most amazing people to share this wisdom to everybody for pennies on the dollar? So that's why I was like, I know my people are gonna absolutely love it, and you've had incredible success. So
I know as well a lot of my community are coming. So I would honestly say the biggest thing that we all need, the thing that is missing in the world the most, is community. Yeah. What you're going to get out of Dreamfest 100% is wisdom and excitement and passion and intellect. 100%. You're going to walk away with, even if it's one thing, you're going to walk away, if you focus to find the one thing and you pick it and you choose it and then you apply it in your life, it will change your life. Like I know that for a fact, because that's how I live my life when I go to events or listen to a podcast. However, what I would offer about Dreamfest is, and I know that a lot of my community are going, is that you like introduce yourself to people that you don't know. Sit next to some people that maybe you don't know. If you're scared to come by yourself, come. Because for me, it's always who you meet in the audience and the connections that you make. Like I know for a fact, like attracts like, right? And so I always say to my community when there's events, I'm like, go, because you'll meet your best friend. Like you will meet your best friend, and it will unlock it could and it will unlock the greatest opportunity of your life to find a new sister or a brother, or like what can come from that. Or if you hear me and you're really inspired by it, like I give time, Morgs, you know this. Like I've said to you, whatever you need from me at this event, I'm it. So if there's a meet and greet, I'll be there. If people have questions, I will be the first in the room. The next day. There's a yacht party. I will be getting lit.
Yeah.
Just straight up facts. I said to Morgs, I'm getting lit though. But yeah, come and look, here's the thing, like come and have a chat with me even. Like if you have a burning question. I had a girl approach me in the gym yesterday, and she's just a follower, and she like came over and she's like, hi Anna, I follow you on Instagram, and she's gorgeous, and she's like, I've got some questions. I said, hit me. I got time. Like you can actually, what's up? She was like, are you serious? I was like, of course. She was like, oh, I really want to start a business. I don't know how to start. And I said, well, talk to me. Like, what's going on? She walked away from that like 15-minute conversation with belief. She was crying, like a business plan. Like that's what you're going to get at Dreamfest, just on steroids.
Yeah.
So it's just exciting.
I love it. Girl, this has been fantastic. We'll probably definitely do a round 2 for sure, and some skydiving sessions as well. Yeah, Saturday. Let's go Saturday. I'm keen.
It's happening.
Where can everybody find you on social media and follow everything you're doing to make sure they can get amongst your community?
Come play on Instagram. That's just where I am. I got websites. I got multiple accounts, but come and play on my account, which is at @thereal_Anna Rose. So the THEREAL_Anna Rose.
Yeah, and we'll put your link in the description as well, because you're so fucking hard to find, because Instagram still don't like you.
Yeah.
So it's hard to actually search you, but you can just click the link. Boom.
Come play.
Got you sorted. All right, to wrap this up, I got a final question for you. Are you ready?
Always.
If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self and give her 30 seconds of advice, what would it be?
I would say, hold on, baby girl. Keep going. One foot in front of the other. Just don't give up. Trust yourself. Know yourself. Love yourself. And back yourself. It gets better.
Thank you so much for listening. And if you got value from this episode, it goes such a long way. If you can just take 20 seconds of your time, leave me a 5-star rating and written review, then screenshot this episode and share it to your story. And make sure you tag me for that shout out. And until next time, guys, go out there and dream out loud.